Welcome to Wild Survival. In this episode, we embark on a journey to India and Ranthambore National Park, home to Ranthambore Tiger Reserve. We'll take an in-depth look at how one particular tiger defied and baffled everyone, initially captivating all who witnessed his unique behavior, until he ultimately sparked a fierce debate as to whether or not he had turned into a vicious man-eater. Listen close as we uncover the suspenseful tale of T-24, the legendary tiger named Ustad. Before the 1900s, the global tiger population was well over 100,000, with 9 subspecies spanning 13 countries in Asia. By the 1950s, their numbers were cut by more than half to around 40,000. Today, 3 of the 9 subspecies of tiger are completely extinct, with the global population currently hovering around a dismal 4,500 individuals at most. Decades of decimating habitats and ecosystems with human development and conflicts with humans have led to the tiger's near demise. They are hunted and poached as trophies, skinned for their coats, declawed and de-whiskered for talismans, charms, and symbols of hierarchy, and picked apart to be used as perceived medicine to cure a multitude of ailments, with zero medical or scientific evidence to support these claims. While tigers do not typically perceive humans as prey, there is a heightened risk of attack when humans enter tiger territory. This may occur due to opportunistic circumstances or when tigers are injured, disabled, or experiencing old age, leading them to desperate hunting attempts. Occasionally, tigers may enter human communities or lurk on the outskirts, targeting humans, but they are often found to be driven by starvation or injuries. It's worth noting that tigers are known to steal from other predators, sometimes making it challenging to determine the exact one responsible for the kill. While we acknowledge the importance of tiger conservation, we must also consider how the people that live in tiger range countries are affected by the tigers that disrupt their communities. When a tiger becomes a man-eater, there is always a debate as to whether or not it should be put down or relocated to a zoo. In other words, a death sentence or life imprisonment, and the verdict is often determined without a fair or justified trial. T-24, affectionately known as Ustad or the Master, was a formidable and captivating tiger who ruled the Ranthambore Tiger Reserve for 9 years. Born in 2005, Ustad possessed a unique spirit that set him apart. His striking appearance and powerful presence made him an instant favorite among wildlife enthusiasts. His unconventional behaviors further added to his allure. Unlike most tigers who prefer seclusion while eating, Ustad defied norms by fearlessly consuming his meals in full view of the public. Weighing nearly 600 pounds, he was one of the largest tigers in Ranthambore, asserting his dominance over the reserve without challenge from other tigers. Even when approached by humans, Ustad remained unfazed, refusing to retreat as most tigers would. This behavior fascinated tourists, photographers, and researchers. He became a symbol of untamed freedom, drawing crowds who marveled at his audacity. Tigers generally exhibit opportunistic mating behavior, as they are not known to form long-term partnerships. Females typically raise their litters independently, while males remain territorial and competitive, having conflicts with other males, including their own offspring. But Ustad was unusual. Due to his sheer size, he dominated his territory without much interference from other tigers. He chose to mate with T-39, a strong and loyal tigress named Noor, and they unexpectedly continued a devoted courtship the entire time they inhabited the park together. They baffled everyone who witnessed their very unconventional habits. People began to depict them as a happy, nuclear family. Noor usually took on the task of hunting, while Ustad protected the territory and looked after the cubs. They spent much of their time together and often shared their meals, which is rare for tigers. Ustad and Noor had 3 male cubs between 2 litters, and many witnessed their unique family dynamic, as Ustad could be seen raising his cubs, patiently teaching them and playing with them. Due to the location of Ustad and Noor's territory, they were frequently encountering humans. Their range overlapped a path that led to a local temple where people were gathering for prayer multiple times a day. Park rangers had to heavily monitor this walkway, sometimes closing it due to heightened tiger activity. Tigers would often leave their kills along the path, intending to come back for them later. Park rangers would have to move the prey to a safe location, but tigers are also known to take whatever kills they find. Although when a tiger's kill has been moved, it can become stressed and anxious as it searches to find its meal. The park rangers did what they could to protect the humans and the tigers, but it was challenging. Locals would become enraged and sometimes seek revenge and retaliate by poisoning the tigers, burning down forests, and even resorting to burning down a park ranger building, feeling that the rangers weren't doing enough to protect the communities. Many people depended on farm animals and gathering resources from certain areas of the park. Their livelihoods would be devastated when tigers would make easy prey of the people or their livestock. In 2009, Ustad sustained a paw injury from a thorn which became infected. Conservationists decided to intervene by trapping him to give him treatment. Typically, when tranquilizing large wild animals for medical intervention, efforts are made to limit sedation time to around 30 minutes to minimize trauma. However, T24 was kept sedated for 48 hours without anesthesia, conscious of everything that transpired as humans conducted their research. Because of this prolonged captivity, Ustad's perception of humans may have undergone a significant shift. It was a year later in 2010 when everything changed for Ustad. He became the prime suspect for a tiger attack of a young man that had gone into tiger territory to allegedly collect wood, as this was not an uncommon practice among locals. He was reported missing that night and was searched for immediately, but authorities found his body just a few feet away from the stone walls of the park boundary, with Ustad sitting right on top of him. Since Ustad now had a radio collar, it was reported that he was in the area at the time of the killing. Coupled with the fact that he was found guarding the man's body, he was strongly believed to be the culprit. However, there is still the possibility that Ustad claimed the body from a different tiger, as they were not all tracked with collars like T24. Because of this incident, park authorities decided to remove T24's collar and determine the man's death to be his own fault for knowingly entering tiger territory and the park reserve for illegal purposes. Officials claim that if T24 was guilty, they believe that this would likely be a one-time situation, adding that the man entered the territory at his own risk. Since there was not enough evidence to prove that T24 attacked the man, Ustad was not labeled as a man-eater, but many locals were adamant that he was guilty. This event sparked a debate that continues to this day. In 2012, a man ventured into the park alone to collect some leaves for his goats, as was common for the farmers of the area. He was in known tiger territory, where locals knew to be wary and stay alert for tigers. Here, the tiger territories overlap in certain areas as farmers go out to collect resources for their livestock. When the man didn't return home, a search party went out, only to find that he had been attacked and killed. This territory was reported as T24's, and no other tigers were observed to be in the vicinity. Once again, many people believed Ustad to be guilty without much proof. In the same year, another man was attacked and killed, but this time it was a forest ranger that was doing maintenance on the road. There were 2 groups of rangers working together, but the one man went ahead and around a bend, out of sight of the other rangers. Moments later, devastating screams could be heard, and the man shouted that he was being eaten. The other rangers leapt to his aid in a panic, but he had been taken away into the forest. The rangers searched and shouted, hoping to scare off the tiger before it could have a chance to finish, but they couldn't find him. It was too dangerous to search the forest on foot, so they radioed for help. More rangers arrived with vehicles, and they were able to track down the tiger, with hopes of saving the man. T-24 was identified as he ferociously guarded the lifeless body, snarling and swiping at the rangers surrounding him as they shouted and threw things. But T-24 refused to back down. The rangers watched helplessly, only able to distract T-24 from his kill until they were finally able to use fireworks to scare him away. The man's wounds showed that he was clearly killed in a deliberate tiger attack, as their primary technique is to use the force of their jaws to bite the prey's neck to suffocate and incapacitate. This was the first officially documented human kill for T-24. The rangers photographed him while they waited for the fireworks to arrive to make sure there would be a way to absolutely confirm his identification. This event fueled more controversy over Ustad. Many people feel that if you enter tiger territory, you should be held responsible for the known risks. This incident was conflicting due to the fact that this happened to a park ranger, someone that has the authority and assumed knowledge to responsibly go out in tiger territory. However, many locals believe the tigers to be a menace to their communities, especially T-24, due to his size and now his aggressive behavior towards humans. Although it could be confirmed that Ustad had become a man-eater, it was decided that he was not at fault and could continue to stay in the park. For a few years, tiger attacks remained low, as did the tensions between the people and Ustad. He went about his own business, and after a while, he could be seen raising his second litter of male cubs with Noor. Wildlife enthusiasts continued to seek them out, documenting their unique family dynamic. Ustad reacted much the same to these male cubs as he did the first, teaching them and playing with them, sometimes being visibly annoyed by them, but always gentle and patient. Even when the cubs were about a year old and large enough to start defending themselves, Ustad never shunned them from his territory, nor did they try to challenge him. He allowed his cubs to wander the territory peacefully, and they continued on as a bonded, affectionate family. The young ones were free to gradually seek their independence and prepare to find their own territories like their older brother. In 2015, a fourth incident occurred involving Ustad. A ranger was out patrolling the park when he received a call about a tiger on the main road. He and two other rangers followed tracking signs and witness sightings to locate the tiger, but when the man stepped away from the others and off the path, he was ambushed. One of the locals heard the commotion and quickly got to his vehicle to investigate. When he reached the spot where the ranger was taken, he could see the tiger with the lifeless-looking body holding the ranger by the neck. The sound of the vehicle screeching to a halt startled the tiger, who then dropped the body, which was quickly recovered. They rushed the ranger to the nearest hospital, but he did not survive his injuries. The man that witnessed the tiger was not able to identify which one it was, only that it was male. Later, a search was conducted, and rangers found Ustad licking up blood while searching the ground, and he growled at the ranger vehicles that got near him. Although T-24 was in the area looking for a fresh kill, his eldest son was also quite large and may have been in the area as well. But news spread quickly across India, and it was presented as T-24's fourth and most vicious attack. Citizens were outraged and demanded his death or removal from the park, even going so far as threatening to illegally hunt down Ustad themselves. Much of the conflict could have been cleared up if any forensic data had been collected, but there was surprisingly no testing done to see if T-24 had evidence of human remains in or on his body. Even when he was held for 48 hours, there were no tests performed that would clear or implicate T-24 of the killings. The insufficient investigation was due to the park reserve's severely limited funding. Protecting tigers and humans from each other with little to no resources was an increasingly difficult task. Park rangers weren't even equipped with uniforms, let alone the supplies needed to perform the kind of testing required for such an investigation. Some people believe that Ustad was unquestionably responsible for the killings, too large and dangerous to be trusted in the park reserve, but others refuse to accept that Ustad was guilty. They believe that even if T-24 was responsible for the kills, it was well known that the area was tiger territory, and therefore a tiger should not be held accountable for humans irresponsibly roaming their domain. Many blame the park reserve and government for doing an inadequate job of funding and maintaining the park. Despite not having the authority nor any definitive proof that T-24 was directly responsible for any of the 4 accused incidents, the chief wildlife warden had Ustad removed from the park and to be placed in a zoo several miles away. May of 2015 marked a dramatic turning point for Ustad. He had gone from fiercely protecting his family and vast 900-acre territory within the park reserve to enduring a life of confinement in a mere 2.4-acre zoo enclosure. The repercussions of this sudden change extended beyond Ustad himself. His vulnerable cubs, barely a year old, faced the looming threats of displacement or even fatal clashes as rival tigers would soon try to lay claim to the territory. His devoted life partner, Noor, could be observed howling out heart-wrenching cries, pleading for his return. Her desperate calls echoed out for weeks, but to no avail. Eventually, the rains washed away all traces of Ustad's scent, and Noor was pursued by another male. She continued searching for Ustad while being stalked by the new male, but eventually relented, letting him claim her and the territory. The cubs were forced to move north and find their own territories, but it was reported that none of the 3 cubs survived due to poaching. Ustad's captivating tale was known worldwide, igniting a global dialogue and prompting legal battles that escalated to the Delhi High Court, the Jaipur High Court, and the Supreme Court of India to determine the possibility of reuniting him with his rightful home. But when the courts were settled, T-24 was deemed unfit to be able to return to his home in Ranthambore. Confined to a life of captivity, Ustad began to suffer from severe medical issues. His inadequate enclosure caused him to develop an intestinal blockage that required immediate surgery. Although the surgery was successful, this became a chronic issue. 7 years after his capture, Ustad was diagnosed with bone cancer and died on December 28, 2022. His life mate, Noor, still lives on the reserve and has had many litters since he left, but she has never taken on another life partner like Ustad. Ranthambore National Park faced many challenges in trying to balance tiger protection and human safety with their limited resources. Tiger conservation is crucial for species survival and ecosystem preservation. It requires addressing habitat protection, responsible tourism, community awareness, and adequate funding. Apex predators are necessary for the natural order and life cycles of their ecosystems. The controversy surrounding T-24 and his removal from the park reserve became a global debate, raising much-needed awareness for all tigers. Ranthambore has made progress over the years, increasing the number of wild tigers in India, but with only 2% of the country's land designated for protection, the growing tiger population and limited space invites more conflict between humans and tigers. That concludes this episode of Wild Survival. Tune in next time as we uncover a gripping tale of a hiker's desperate struggle for survival, navigating a bone-chilling brush with death. Thank you for listening, and remember, explore with caution and thrive with resilience.